Hey y'all, Monk Joseph here with the Broken Buddha. Today I've got kind of a fun topic. I want to do being a Tai Chi or Kung Fu conduit. So I see a lot of like misunderstanding between sports martial arts and combat martial arts. Sports martial arts are designed so you can practice constantly in a relatively safe environment. I mean, obviously you can get knocked out and get stuff broken, but it is still a relatively safe environment with rules and pads and all that stuff. Um, and when it comes to combat martial arts, I mean, I don't know if a lot of people understand the reality of ancient combat. You're not coming back. Like there's a very high chance you're not coming back. So you would spend your entire life making your limbs and strikes as hard as possible, hoping that you survive like these war times in your life. But you still need to make sure that that last strike could be your last strike, and you need to make sure it's wiping out a guy or it's going to kill one of your buddies or family members. So it's just a different time. And when it comes to being a proper conduit, because this is going to be like a half Eastern, half Western video. Because like on the Western aspect, when you get into your flow and you have a choice to make, and every person is a new split second choice, a new problem to deal with, you need to know that your limbs are going to hold out, right? So you can't be a proper conduit um, without knowing your limbs are going to hold out. Because a lot of people, you're probably going to break your hand on the first or second guy if you make it that far, if you're not trained. And even if you are trained, like if I got into a fight with people who knew what they're doing, I would probably be able to make it to, I want to say, number three before I started breaking stuff in my own limbs from hitting. And again, we're talking about swinging as hard as I can, perfect drilling or swinging strikes every single shot, no mistakes. I'm probably going to have something cracked or something in my limbs cracked by around the third person. And then by the fifth person, I would definitely have something cracked or broken. And I mean, anything beyond that, you're kind of screwed. I mean, because only unless you can find a wall or a corner, like if you're outside or inside and you can get into a corner, because then only like two to three people can even really touch you at once, and you can handle that if you know what you're doing. And it's a very limited space. Nobody has a wide range of motion. You have a good bit of full motion, but I mean, you've still got two or three people trying to hit you at once. And same thing with a wall. Like, there's been a few times where when you see it coming, when you see you're about to get jumped, just make sure that you're in a space. If you can't get away, like a few times where I've been, you can't get away, just make sure you can either just locate the nearest corner or wall. You can't, if you have literally nowhere to run, jump, or hide, all you can do is find a place that's going to minimize the amount of tacking space that they have. If you can find like an alleyway, like a very, very narrow alleyway, that's probably your best bet, like a one person wide alleyway. And if you know Wing Chun or something southern like that, you've got a real good chance, because then it doesn't matter how many people they are unless they're coming from both sides, because only one of them can touch you at a time, and even then it's gonna be very like limited. If you've seen some of the alleys, they're pretty tiny. Okay, so I'm gonna go to the Eastern aspect. For those of there out there, this is where it's gonna get a little fun. That are fighting evil and training for to fight monsters and destroy monsters. When you really, and if you really have trained and fought long enough, you understand getting in your flow, right? And being in your flow of a fight, you can't break. You got to make sure that you're ready to be a conduit for destroying evil, and you can't be a proper conduit if your limbs are just one strike broken, next arm broken. Well, I'm out of limbs. I guess I'll use my no, that's broken too. So that's what all this is. When you're talking about the conditioning and all the different techniquing, like you really just need to put more into like the individual technique to be a proper conduit. Put more time into your iron limbs. Um, yeah, and you know, if you really want to try to experience it, go into the Iron Limb Conditioning playlist here and just do as much of it as you can for 2 weeks to 6 months. If you make it all 6 months, you will already understand everything I'm saying right now and be like, I get it. And then you try to find your weaknesses of what's not solid, what is, how to fix it. If it's your body, do some dip kong, or even just hit yourself with a stick or a pole a little bit, knowing how to localize the fascia to protect yourself, the fascia and muscles to protect yourself. Um, yeah, so I mean, go through your own training, guys. I don't ever encourage anybody to just hear what I say and believe it. Like, go through your own training, become a conduit of combat martial arts, of kung fu, of tai chi, whatever it is you're doing. And I got to put in here just for the Tai Chi people. I did mention that because there is like some translative issue of, Tai Chi Chuan Supreme Ultimate God Fist, if you want to say it bluntly. And this part isn't gonna be for the religious people. You can't be a proper conduit for God if your bones are gonna break the first time you hit somebody or the second time you hit somebody. You need to be able to flow through. It's not gonna use you to put something that needs to be put down if you're not ready. At least in my opinion. I mean, I'm not saying people don't get put in positions they're not ready, but be a proper conduit, of whatever you see, for whatever you want to see change for justice. Just make sure that you're being a proper conduit. All right, and always, oh yeah, and also remember, I feel like I more good guys watch this than bad guys. I want to make one thing clear: bad guys train hard, right? People who know. I've only met a few people like this, and they're actually usually not that aggressive off the bat. Like you usually got to do something to upset these people, but people that enjoy and intend to hurt people, like you know, enforcers of biker gangs and stuff. I've heard some really crazy stories and met some really interesting people that just that's their lifestyle. They're gonna fight and be in aggressive situations, and they train relentlessly. And these are the people that I see a lot of people get caught off guard by people who actually train, and they're just like kind of sleeping on fools. And yeah, and then they get called out, and it's like, yeah, no, there's people that like to hurt people that really really train really really hard, harder than me, harder than you. So there's that. The only real instance and issue is I will put myself in harm's way to stop someone who just can't fathom any of it if I see it happening in front of me. But again, if I'm ready, then I think I'll it's not a problem, But if you're not ready, it is. So don't let it be a problem. So that's it for the Kung Fu, Tai Chi, Conduit, uh, you know, combat arts versus sports arts. I'm not knocking anybody. I very much enjoyed my time in sports arts, but if you're not training combat arts, you're not training to protect somebody in a life or death situation. I'm gonna say exclusively with multiple attackers because if you've never been in a street fight, it's pretty rare that it's one on one. And even if it is one on one, the only reason the other guy didn't jump in yet is because you weren't winning. If you just started winning, that other guy would have jumped right in. And maybe people come out running out of a house. Like you never know. One minute you're in a confrontation, next thing you know, there's six dudes running out of a house, and you're like, "Oh, I didn't know you were in there with all them." And you're just confronting random people on the street trying to pick a fight to jump somebody. Cool. So there's that. Thanks for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, guys, get your own Iron Limb training. You don't got to argue with me in the comments section. You can't do that. Meh, meh, meh. Go through your own training. Go through some sports martial arts. I can't encourage street fighting, but if it happens, it happens. But yeah, get your own experience. So I do these things just so you guys can enjoy the perception of somebody who's been in it for 20 plus years. All right. Thanks for your time. Peace and blessings.